and welcome to Binge Watch, the podcast where we take a look at the hottest new TV and film releases on streaming television platforms. I'm Hannah Fernando, the group editor of Woman and Woman and Home magazine.
And I'm Ian McEwan, writer on TV and Satellite Week, TV Times and What's on TV magazines. And today we're looking at the new releases that will be available on Friday the 25th of October 2024, including Billy Crystal in Apple TV's Before, a terrifying psychological thriller about a troubled young boy. And we're going behind the scenes with The Boss on tour in rockumentary Road Diary, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band on Disney+.
We'll also be checking out Armando Iannucci's superhero spoof The Franchise on Now TV and Irish crime drama Blackshore on You. But first, Ian, what is in the news?
Angelica Houston and Matthew Rhys will head the cast of BBC One's new adaptation of Agatha Christie's chilling novel Towards Zero. What else is in the news, Hannah?
And in Gold's three-part travelogue, Neil and Martin's Bon Voyage, Men Behaving Badly co-stars Martin Clunes and Neil Morrissey will explore French food, scenery and culture. I watched him on Saturday Kitchen the other day, Martin Clunes. It's good.
Happy days. Well, a very good variety for you this week. We've got a rockumentary, we've got a psychological sort of supernatural type thriller, we've got a superhero spoof, and we've got a crime drama. There's got to be something for you there, listeners. Come on. Well, we're going to start on Disney Plus with a feature-length rockumentary that arrives on Friday the 25th of October. It's called Road Diary, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. And here's a clip.
Since I was 16, playing live has been a deep and lasting part of who I am and how I justify my existence here on Earth. 50 years and the mighty E Street Band, baby. But when the world shut down, I made a promise that if we got through this, I'd throw the biggest party I could. Can't disappoint the fans. Can't do that.
Well, Hannah, the first time I saw Bruce Springsteen live, it was at Crystal Palace. It was in the 1990s, and I couldn't find my car after the gig. Well, fast forwards to this summer, and I got a free ticket to go and see The Boss at Wembley Stadium.
What?
Yeah, and I have to say, I mean, he and his band are famous for their live performances, and especially putting on quite long shows, and also Bruce's connection with the audience and his super fans. And it was a brilliant gig. It was amazing, and I'm not usually a fan of these big venues. It was a great gig, but also it was surprisingly emotional as well, because I remember when I left school, I got the double album The River, and so hearing some songs from that, it just took me all the way back there. And Springsteen, he's continued producing top quality material. So yes, this band, well, it's got Steve Van Zandt, the musician and actor, on guitar, and also Nils Lofgren on guitar. The Clarence Clemens used to be the sax player and a great character in the band. Well, now his nephew is on the sax. So this is sort of a look at the rehearsal process first for the sort of a world tour following lockdown, and you kind of see how he constructs the set list, how he kind of conducts the band, how he tries to create a special atmosphere at the gigs. So yeah, we see rehearsal footage, we see concert footage, we hear from the various musicians in the band, and we also hear from fans. So it's an absolute treat. I absolutely loved it. What did you think, Hannah?
Oh, I just love things like this. I mean, I'm a bit of a Bruce Springsteen fan. In fact, I have him on my Spotify. And just, I mean, when you have a hiatus, I think it was only 6 years, wasn't it, out? But to come back and you've got such a sturdy and firm fan base like that. I mean, I'm really, really envious of you going to see him, because I mean, shows these days are just brilliant anyway, aren't they? But people like Bruce Springsteen, you don't almost need the big lights and the everything that goes on, although I'm sure a bit of that was there. It's all about him and the voice and that sort of coming together. And I don't know, just totally iconic. And things like this, these kind of rockumentaries where you speak to people and learn more about them, are just, if you like music, you're gonna like this. Yeah. I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
I think he's 74 now. Incredible.
Wow, really?
He doesn't look it. Over on Apple TV Plus, next up, we have a new drama series arriving also on Friday, the 25th of October. It's called Before, and here's a clip.
I have a game for you. Put your block right in the middle. Now you say something that makes you mad.
People who do bad things.
What kind of bad things?
You know what you did. That's me. That's you.
Yep, so like with everything with Apple, there are 10 episodes. This is obviously season 1. The first 2 episodes drop and then it's weekly after that. So it kind of leaves you hanging a little bit. As you say, this is a thriller. This will have you on the edge of your seats. And it's that season, isn't it? It is that season for all things thrilling. And this stars Billy Crystal, who's really become incredibly popular. But this is a really different role for him because we've seen him in quite light-hearted roles in, from When Harry Met Sally and City Slickers, and this is really quite a different part. And you're talking about ages. I mean, he's 76 years old. I mean, this is a big deal. And he plays this part of a very highly regarded child psychiatrist, a therapist called Eli Adler. But he's got his own issues, and I actually wonder. I'm going down another road now, but I also wonder how many times you get into these jobs because you've got your own kind of things going on and you want to help other people. And actually, he's plagued with insomnia, and he has these terrible, violent nightmares. Because his wife, who was an illustrator, she took her own life 6 months earlier. So you can understand why he's got these terrible nightmares and this insomnia. But of course, that's not kind of conducive always, is it, to then working the next day and working with people. But he's kind of on the verge of retirement. He's looking to kind of to finish and take a backseat and sort of make life easier. But all his plans are put on hold because there's this kind of really creepy encounter with this 8-year-old boy called Noah Sawyer. And this child appears on his doorstep and he scratches these symbols on the front door until his fingers bleed and then he runs off. Now, that in itself, symbols being scratched on doors, already, the back of the neck, the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up. And in a twist of fate, slightly cheesily, he is assigned to this case, and he learns that this child was abandoned as a baby, and lots of foster families. There's some real sadness to this story, and he's in danger of being sent to this hospital to be looked after, the state-run hospital to be looked after, and. The journey between these two is really lovely, and every kind of time you see something, there's another piece of the puzzle that's kind of fixes together as you go through. And you don't want to give too much away with this, but it's a really nice relationship between an older man and a young boy, and kind of how they can help each other, because Eli's also a lost soul. So it's really quite deep. It is a thriller. It is exciting, but I don't think it's a little. I think in places, from what I've seen so far, there are some sort of bits which are, say the word cheesy, kind of a bit obvious, I suppose, and a bit too coincidental. But like everything with Apple TV, it's a great show. It's a proper production, and I think those bits you can overlook because of that. What did you think, Ian?
I liked episode 1. Of course, it's going to remind people of The Sixth Sense, which was the M. Night Shyamalan film about a therapist and a child who was seeing disturbing things. And in that, Bruce Willis was sort of cast against type, wasn't he? And that delivered a huge twist, an incredible twist at the end. It remains to be seen how this series will resolve. So it throws a lot of horror tropes into the mix. So yes, he's having nightmares, horrible nightmares. They're quite well done in this sort of empty swimming pool. He's wandering around. He's seeing his dead wife. Spooky kid. The kid is kind of seeing things and speaking in strange voice and doing these creepy drawings, and there's some weird connection between the two. And yeah, Crystal, I think he's good. I think he's well cast in this because he does come across as very sympathetic and understanding. There's one or two, as you say, there's one or two slightly unconvincing bits of dialogue when he's talking to either his therapist or his sort of old mate or his colleagues. But yeah, I hope they manage to resolve it in a way that is satisfying, because there is a supernatural element, and you want to find out, what is affecting this young lad, what's behind it all, and what's the connection between them. So yeah, a promising start. Looking forward to seeing the rest. Over on Sky Comedy and Now TV, arriving on Monday the 21st of October, we have a new satirical comedy called The Franchise. And here's a clip.
Quiet on set! Just another 83 days, and then we're done. Let's savour every moment.
Christ, what a mess.
Not panicking. Just take 5, everyone! Everything's exploding at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and the movie is a scrotum resting on a razor's edge.
The studio man is coming.
Welcome to the future of getting reamed out.
Well, Hannah, if you want pedigree, I give you Armando Iannucci, who created The Thick of It and many other great TV shows and films. Oscar-winning director Sam Mendes, yes, and Guardian journalist and podcaster Marina Hyde was on the writing team. So yeah, you can't go wrong really, can you? And this is a comedy set on the set of a superhero film. Okay, so they've made up a film franchise, and the film they're working on is called Tecto, Eye of the Storm, and it stars Himesh Patel, who was brilliant in the Richard Curtis film Yesterday, about a guy who wakes up in a world where the Beatles never existed, but he knows all the songs and can pretend they're his own. It's really good. So if you haven't seen it, watch that. I think it's on iPlayer at the moment. Anyway, he's the first assistant director. So I think people who work within the industry, the film and TV industry, will get a lot from this, because you're getting all those production roles and it's all this behind the scenes stuff. So he's trying to kind of hold it all together. He's got quite a sort of pretentious director called Eric, played by Daniel Bruhl, who sort of has his vision, for the film. But then you've got the powers that be, the money men, who are saying, we want this, we want that, we don't want this. Then you've also got the actors who are challenging in their own ways. One of them is played by the fantastic Richard E. Grant. Absolutely superb, star of With Nail and I, and so many other things. And the leading man, Adam, he's Tecto, and his backstory, superheroes will have backstories, don't they? So he sort of fell into a big fissure in the earth, and now he can create earthquakes with an invisible jackhammer. So yeah, the scenes where they're filming the superhero stuff are great. They're hilarious, and all the behind scenes stuff is well done. There's also Lolly Adefope from Ghosts, who plays assistant Dag. And as with every Iannucci project, the script is razor sharp, and it's so quick. I mean, you really have to pay attention, because every line is an absolute zinger, and the dialogue is delivered very quickly. It's all quite breathless. It's just superbly done. Great characters. I mean, yeah, yes, another winning series from him and his collaborators. So yeah, I very much enjoyed it. What did you think, Hannah?
Do you know, the bit that I love about this is, like you say, all the big sort of names that are behind this and writing it and helping it and kind of giving insight into it, because all of them probably know some of these ego-driven stars, or have certainly had contact with them, and we all kind of know them, but we can't really talk about it, can we? And all those kind of stories. And that's my favourite part of this, is that you get to see behind the scenes and meet these very, very ego-driven stars, these stressed out crew members, and we're all working, or you and I, working in an industry where we we do see snapshots of that, don't we? And we certainly hear things that you can't necessarily write about. And it just makes me die, because we'll talk about riders, don't we, for different Hollywood stars and what have you, and how ridiculous. And we do write about those because they're just something to laugh at. And I can't help wondering whether this is genuine or they just do it because that's what's expected of them. But this kind of, I don't know, this shows it up. And I can't help thinking that everybody involved in this is drawn from some personal contact that they've had. And that just makes it even funnier. I think it's really good, really well put together, as it should be with the people that are involved.
Well, we're going to finish over on You and Drama, as that channel is now called, and also on the streaming service You, where this will arrive as a box set from Saturday the 19th of October. It's a new crime drama called Blackshore, and here's a clip.
As part of our investigation, we're very keen to locate this young woman and making sure that she is safe.
How would you respond to questions about your suitability, given your personal history with a similar case here in Blackwater?
You mean the death of my family?
Everyone knows her father killed that Chloe Whelan girl. Their babysitter goes missing, and the next day Jack Lucy goes and kills his family.
Drugs, young girls, it's a sickness you have.
We're in this now.
We've had a lot of new crime dramas recently, and again, I sort of say, how can we make this any different? Because we all love a crime drama, don't get me wrong, but it's a well-oiled machine these days, isn't it? And kind of what are you going to do that makes it different to the one before? Or perhaps it just doesn't need to be because we enjoy them so much, and that's why they keep making them. But this is a bit different because there's quite a lot of twists and turns. It's a 6-part crime thriller, and it's based around this very straight-talking Dublin detective called Fia Lucy, and again, a bit like we were talking in the last podcast, they're kind of drawing on very sort of modern situations. I think we were talking in the Australian office about the fact that, coming back from COVID and trying to get people back in the office. And they're kind of drawn on situations which are ever current and very ever topical of undue force, perhaps used by police. And we hear that all the time. So they've kind of used a topical thing and used that as a platform. And she is accused of using undue force in her policing. And she's sent sort of off, if you like, to oversee a missing persons case, but it's in her hometown. And this is where the sort of the creepy, thrillery part comes in, because as always, this is a sleepy, pretty creepy place anyway that you wouldn't want to necessarily go back to. She's got a bit of a backstory because she has to also deal with it as a family tragedy, and she's kind of walked away from that. She doesn't really want to go back, but that's where she's sent, of course, in a twist of fate. And there's lots of flashbacks in this. You find out that her father Jack killed her mother and brother in this murder-suicide at their home. That was 20 years previously, and then he was linked to the disappearance of a local teenager, Chloe. Now, whilst the community are fairly kind to her and in terms of her losing her family, the mother of Chloe is not, and she feels that she kind of feels that there's questions unanswered. So it's kind of, there's lots of twists and turns, and there's lots of kind of plots running through it, really. And I, from what I've seen so far, I quite liked it. As I say, I feel like it's well-trodden ground, these kind of crime dramas. But I think this probably does do something a little bit different. It's still got that sort of... the bit that you like is the crime, finding out the whodunit, I suppose. But actually, it's all the other layers that run in between it, and also this policewoman's want to prove her worth, her value, putting everything that's happened behind her, and I suppose instead of running away from where all the problems were, she's going back and having to face it. So. You learn a lot about her character. It's a character with a lot of depth. So I thought it was, from what I've seen so far, I really quite enjoyed it. What do you think, Ian?
I did like it. Obviously it's got a lot of familiar elements. So, troubled cop, going back to a small town, which is full of sort of secrets and memories. And yeah, again, we're going to have the dead body of a woman turning up, and then we're going to have another young woman who's being held captive. So that, there's a lot of that in crime drama, isn't there? But I do like the character of Fia. In fact, I took an instant like to her because she starts off, we see her in the pub on her own, having a drink. And then this drug dealer is assaulting a woman in the toilet, and she follows him in and breaks his nose. So I thought, yeah, good on you. So that's why she gets disciplined. But yeah, she's quite cool, isn't she? She's quite a cool character. And when she goes home, her colleagues don't want her there. They don't like her. As you said, there are people in the town who really don't like her. But she doesn't really care. She just kind of does her own thing, goes her own way. And she's partnered with this colleague who's, who really doesn't want to be working with her and is, just rubs her up the wrong way. So what I do like about it is it's relatively simple to follow, because a lot of crime dramas can be so bloody convoluted, can't they? There's the story of a girl who's gone missing, which unfolds, and then we're also getting, in classic fashion, flashbacks to the family tragedy and an associated death. So I liked it. I liked the Irish setting. I thought the lead was very good. I think it's perfectly decent crime drama. Recommended. Well, Hannah, we've got to that time where we find out what the hell you've been binge watching this week.
Well, I had a quick look at a very royal scandal, which of course we have discussed, but I enjoyed that very much. And of course, because it's that time of year, Britain's greatest ghost stories on Amazon Prime, because I just want to get a little bit creeped out.
Good Lord. Well, I rewatched a comedy that I very much like, Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, which is available on Netflix, and it stars Will Ferrell and Sacha Baron Cohen and John C. Reilly. And it's about a NASCAR driver, and it's a right hoot. We've just got time to look ahead to next week. So what's going to be happening, Hannah? Anything unusual?
Well, Ian, I'm just going to let you know, and this is, I'll be on holiday.
Oh, how lovely. And in Hannah's absence, instead of our usual two-hander, you're going to get me rounding up the week's new releases in a slightly shorter than usual binge watch, just to keep you up to date. They include Midas Man, an Amazon Prime film about the life of former Beatles manager Brian Epstein, and Generation Z, Channel 4's new horror comedy about flesh-eating pensioners, starring Anita Dobson, Robert Lindsay, and Sue Johnston. So I look forward to those and much, much more. But in the meantime, listeners,
keep watching.